Hi guys, Dave Wilson here again. Today, something new to show you. Follow me. Hot off the catwalks, the latest jewellery trend being offered by high-end jewellery stores in places like New York and Los Angeles is referred to as infinity jewellery. Silver and gold bracelets permanently attached to the wearer. No catches, no clasps, no magnets, smooth and seamless all the way around. So the jewellery represents infinity, no beginning, no end. The bracelets are attached to the wearer and then permanently closed. They're designed to be worn all the time and never taken off. So rather like a wedding band, they represent everlasting love, an eternal bond, or as a lasting reminder of a loved one, kind of a modern alternative to the traditional engagement or friendship ring. On a practical level, the lack of a connector means that there's nothing to catch on your clothing or potentially break because there's no weak spots. Now, traditionally, silver and gold chains are soldered using high temperature gas torches. So, how is it possible to permanently attach a chain to someone's wrist whilst they're actually wearing it? The solution is the Orion Pulsar welders, available from Pepetools. These welders allow small chains to be welded in a fraction of a second with an instant spark. So no high temperature, no chemicals, quick, safe and simple. And nothing else offers the ability to fix jewellery actually on a customer's wrist like this. These state-of-the-art tools allow you to offer this bespoke service in-house. Customers can come in, select the chain, have it fixed onto their wrist and be able to walk out wearing it in a couple of minutes. So here's how. Firstly, select the chain. Sterling silver and high carat gold chains are popular. The intention is that the bracelet will be worn for many years, so avoid using chains that have plated finishes such as white gold with rhodium plating, as this may require replating and refinishing after a few years, which in turn would mean taking the chain off by cutting it, repolishing it and then attaching it again. Here I've got a selection of silver chains, all suitable for infinity welding. Now note that they have loose open links, which is easy to cut and weld, and this is important. The chain needs to be thin, preferably a belcher design. This means that it can be welded easily with just 1 or 2 pulses at low power and no excessive heat. A larger or more complex chain, like a rope chain for example, would require more welds and eventually become hot, which we want to avoid for the comfort of the user. High carat gold such as 18 carat might be a little too soft for fine chains which are intended to be worn permanently, but yellow gold such as European 9 or the USA 14 carat are ideal as they're long lasting and highly resistant to tarnish. Now, the wearer doesn't want their bracelet to break during daily use, so it needs to be strong enough to last, but there is also an additional consideration regarding safety. Should the chain ever become caught on something such as machinery or a door handle, the chain must be thin enough to break before causing danger to the user. You see, the temptation from the customer might be to have a very thick and strong chain, but this could represent a potential danger if it gets caught on something. So this is just a judgment for the jeweller to make and advise the customer. Having selected a suitable chain, you need to measure the customer's wrist. Ideally, it needs to be short enough that it won't fall off the wrist and get lost, but it doesn't want to be tight. So use a traditional flexible tape measure and ensure the wrist is free to move without restriction. Great tip. Use a fine permanent marker to mark the link where you're going to cut it and re-weld it, because once you reconnect it, it's impossible to spot that open link, so mark it before you cut it. You can just use flush cutters to snip the chain to length, but depending on the design, this will mean cutting a link in half. A more efficient way is to open a link. So use some fine flush cutters to just cut the link at one end, and then use some needle nose pliers or strong tweezers to open the link. Remember to mark it before reattaching so you can find it again. Another great tip is to cut the link at one end. This is the same as what you would do if you were soldering traditionally. The weld will then be invisible and hidden when worn. Also, there's no wastage using this method. Lay the chain flat and straight on the countertop with no twists, and ask the customer to lay their wrist on top of it. Carefully pick up each end without twisting it, and using your needle nose pliers or tweezers, hook the open end of the chain onto the other end and squeeze it close. Check for fit and ensure it's not twisted. If you're using one of the smaller welders with the LCD screen, the mPulse, you might need to adjust it quite high to enable space for the customer's wrist. The larger models with the microscopes allow the welder to be swung into position and then swung out of the way, so a great solution. Word of caution, remember that the electrode is very sharp and you need to keep it sharp. And so this could potentially stab the customer. So remind the customer to keep their wrist still while aligning the welder or moving it into position, or perhaps cover the tip of the electrode with a plastic cap or a piece of cork until you're ready to weld. Just a little safety thing there. The welder creates a bright flash, a spark. Now, the jeweler is either working through an LCD screen on the mPulse or via the microscope, which has an integrated shutter to protect your eyes. But the customer will usually want to see this spark as part of the experience. So, although it's only a single split-second tiny flash, their eyes should ideally be protected from the flash and the UV. So provide them with some UV protective safety glasses while performing the weld. This also adds to the experience, I think, for the customer. Now, the settings will vary depending on the chain, the material and the power of the welder. But with the small fine electrode sharpened to a fine point and a low setting of around 5 watts is usually sufficient to weld fine trace chains like. Attach the welder's crocodile clip to the chain. Remember, there's no electrical shock or risk to the customer, so do reassure them of this. Using your fingers, just offer up the link to the electrode so it's standing off away from the customer's skin. When you're happy with the position, advise the customer and simply press the foot pedal to weld. Or in the case of the mPulse, you just touch it to the electrode and that initiates the weld. Another great tip, when you're working on fine items, it's often better to use 2 blasts of low power rather than 1 high power blast, which would simply melt the link. So if you do need to weld several times, wait a second before firing the next one. And I always recommend practice first on a few links of the similar chain before you start offering the service. Once welded, wait for a second and check with your fingers that it's not hot before releasing it onto the customer's wrist. Welders don't use flux like traditional soldering, so there's no clean up. You may see a little black soot mark on the welded link. Just simply wipe it with a jewellery polishing cloth and you're all done. The weld should be completely invisible and the chain seamless. Done. So let's talk about the welders. As I said at the start, any of the Orion welders are suitable for making these infinity chains, but there are a few differences between the models that you might want to consider. Firstly, and very importantly, all the pulse welders need argon gas. It's not flammable and it's very economical, it lasts for ages, but you do need it. Without it, the weld will splatter and the metal won't bond properly, so yes, you do need argon, and it should be available from your local welding supplier. The entry model is the mPulse, so this is a bargain price, a very small compact unit with very simple controls. It's just a power setting. Great for sitting on a countertop. This uses the LCD screen which protects your eyes from the flash. Note this new screen, which is now much larger than the original version, and as previously you can adjust the height of the screen. As the mPulse doesn't have the microscope, this reduces the cost and makes it one of the most affordable welders on the market, so a great entry point. The larger units, such as the 150S and 250S, come with a microscope on a swing arm. Now, the precision of these units is incredible. Even with the mPulse, you can weld the finest of tiny little chains, but you can't weld what you can't see, so the microscopes are absolutely invaluable. They also incorporate a shutter to protect your eyes from the flash, and they contain LED lighting, giving you a perfect illuminated view. The microscopes are mounted on these metal swing arms, meaning that you can easily move them in and out of the way, and so you can put them right on your countertop and just swing them in and out when you need them. Software. The little mPulse just has a simple power control. Very, very easy. But the large units have a whole wealth of settings allowing you to vary everything about the weld, the speed, the power, with lots of predefined settings for every metal. You can also modify the settings and save your own favourite settings for instant recall, so this could be really cool if you're working with different chains. Another great feature on the larger units is the foot pedal. The mPulse uses touch setting, so as soon as the chain touches the electrode, creates a circuit and it activates the welder. The large units can do this too, but they also have a foot pedal, meaning you can touch the chain and nothing will happen until you actually press the foot pedal. Now this is a really accurate way of welding, and it prevents any misfires, especially if the customer's moving around. The large units can also perform multiple welds in rapid succession, like a machine gun, which is great for welding seams and long lines. But for welding a small chain like this, it's better to use just a single shot, just one weld at a time. The latest state-of-the-art welder, the 200i, again has all the built-in controls and arrays of features, but the unit is now on top of the microscope as opposed to on the main unit. So this means that if you put this on your countertop, you've got a great neat looking solution that's very compact, and the whole thing can swing in and out as you need it. Of course, don't forget, pulse welders have 1001 uses, from quick and easy repairs, retipping claws, manufacturing, alterations, and lots of jobs that you just can't do with traditional gas torches. So there really is a lot more you can do than just weld chains. So check out Pepetools.com for great deals on the latest range, and also check out the blogs and the video channel for lots more information showcasing these latest incredible welders. I've been Dave Wilson. Thanks for watching. See you real soon on the next video. Bye for now.